I got some more nicknames today. And by the way, I didn't mention this in the other set of nicknames video. You don't really stop and think to come up with the nicknames. They just kind of happen naturally. Usually the first time you're like grasping for something to call the guy because we don't know the guy's name. So like there was this guy I'll get to eventually in Southern Maryland that we ended up calling Salt and Pepper. It's because I was in a hand against him. So when I was telling my friend about the hand, you know, I said, you know, that guy raised, you know, you've seen him a lot. The guy with the salt and pepper hair. That's the first time. Then the second time, it'll be a little more fluent, not like quite like it's his name already, but it'll be like, you know, so I raised, and that guy called, and I was like, what guy? I mentioned it before, you know, Salt and Pepper. And then the third time, it's just fluent. You know, I'll say, oh, you know who was at that table earlier? Salt and Pepper. Just like it's his name, like it was his given name. So that's how they come up. You don't sit there and think and brainstorm. They come up naturally. So, I got some more nicknames from Atlantic City. These are our pro-related nicknames. If in some form, either mockingly or seriously, they were like a professional poker player, we had a set of nicknames. So the first one, his name was Professional. He was actually in some footage from World Series many years ago. He's this Asian guy who always wears a suit. That guy's great. He actually got kind of suspended for a bit, which was terrible, but not a total ban. I think the suspension might even be lifted now, but that guy was great. That guy started this group of professional nicknames. There's someone we called 2012 Pro. My friend knew him from back in the day in Atlantic City. I guess in 2012, you know, he was playing for a living, and actually in 2019 he would play for like 10 minutes at a time and then go home, and he would explain how that was some great strategy to keep your dollars per hour really high, because if your time is incredibly small and you're winning, your dollars per hour is going to be very high. But whatever, he's basically not in the game anymore. 2012 Pro. There was someone we called 170K. I think he played a lot. I think he hit some kind of a bad beat or something. I'm not 100% sure. This was like 3 years ago now almost, but we called him 170K, and for some reason in my notes I have him in this group of nicknames. Vegas Pro was a mocking nickname. He was pretty new to poker. He would always have a duffel bag filled with stuff. I don't know what it was filled with. He would sit, he would play for like 10 minutes, and then he would get up for like an hour, and we would pick him up almost every time, and it was incredibly annoying because you knew instantly you were going to be one person short at that table. And we called him Vegas Pro because that happens in Vegas a lot. If you've only ever played most of your poker in Vegas, it's way different in other places. Like in Wisconsin, guys would show up and not leave until they couldn't stay awake. Like that was normal. A guy sat down at 5 p.m. and he would be in the room as long as he had cash. He would be in the room until 5 a.m. Like that was normal. In Atlantic City, the same thing. In Baltimore, the same thing. In Vegas, it's just really different. People, plenty of tourists and locals, they just don't play for all that long. I would say that is the norm. It's not everybody, but that's the norm, like shorter sessions. So when he would put his chips down, play one orbit, and then leave forever, we called him Vegas Pro. Blackjack Pro, I'm not 100% sure either. I think he was a guy who played blackjack a lot. That seems too obvious. I think he was like trying way harder in blackjack to make money than poker, although he would play both, but it was like 3 years ago. I'm not 100% sure how this nickname came about either. Bald Pro was awesome. He was just a guy who shaved his head. He was really trying to make it. He actually had a pretty similar thought process to what I hear Ivy used to do. Like Ivy would get enough money to shot take at higher stakes, and if he lost, he would just, all right, go back down and make the money again. And he was waiting for like one day to kill it and sustain that higher stakes for a much longer period. So that's what Bald Pro would do. Whenever 2-5 ran at Harrah's, which was not normal, it was not common, he would play it. He was just like always trying to make like a killing and get to like 2-5 or 5-10 for a very long time. I don't think he was going to make it. My guess would be he's not in poker anymore, but he was trying. He was actually trying to be a pro. It wasn't a mocking nickname. This might be the most controversial one of this group, not because the guy was black, and we called him Black Pro because I thought he was one of the worst players in the room. I would love playing at his table, and my friend thought he was like really solid and you couldn't make money off of him, which is like a really different perspective to have. I loved when he was at the table. He was also, he talked a little bit for that reason. I liked having him at the table, but mostly because I just thought he called way too much. He played way too many hands, and he just, my guess would be that he was a losing player. My friend thought he made enough money that he could play for a living if he wanted to. So, that was Black Pro. That was our second group of nicknames from AC. Still got like 80 more nicknames from AC, and I'll keep bringing them up in installments, little by little.